As we remember our Independence Day, let us also reflect on the men and women of our armed forces who defend our liberty. Their service and sacrifice make us proud and are the very reason that America remains a shiny city on the hill. To you and your families, happy 4th of July.
Ah, yes, the shiny city on the hill. That's the Speaker of the House, silver-tongued devil that he is, Kevin McCarthy. But at least he's on our side, and also, he believes that the 4th of July in the United States of America, good things. Good. Unlike so many Democrats, we've got Jamal Bowman, Democrat member of the House of Representatives. He is no fan of the 4th of July or the United States of America. He thinks that it should be given back to the Indians or something like that, which sounds like a good idea. Do we get to take all our roads with us and buildings and airplanes and airports and electricity and medicine and instantaneous global communication and satellites and hospitals? We take all that stuff with us when we go wherever we're going to go. Maybe we'll go to Antarctica because of global warming. It'll be a nice place to live. Gosh, it was warm yesterday, summertime in Washington. Must be climate change. I'm in a panic again. Not a sexual panic like the entire Democrat Party, the gender panic that they're suffering from. It's pretty amazing. Amazing stuff. Well, happy Wednesday morning to you, and the 5th of July. I have just returned. My best girl and I, we actually returned Sunday night. We got home into Dulles International Airport after 9:30 p.m. on Sunday evening. Made our way home, into the District of Columbia about an hour or so, and had a really great trip. It was our annual sea cruise on the Regent Sea Cruise line, and it was great. And the group of people that came along, just wonderful, just a really great group of people. And I'm going to get into that some more as we go today and beyond. Great stuff. We flew into Barcelona, which is in Spain, for people that were educated in Democrat schools listening today. That's in Spain. It's a big city in Spain. And we started in Barcelona. I don't call it Barcelona, though, because I'm not a Democrat. And boarded a beautiful luxury liner there and stops in the south of Spain, a couple of places never been before. Pretty good stuff. Granada and Seville. It's not Grenada, that's in the Caribbean, but Granada. And Seville, which Democrats like to call Sevilla because Kyiv, and things like that. But great stuff, and we'll talk about that. Then into Casablanca and up the coast to Rabat, another city in Morocco, on to the south of Portugal on the Algarve, where I've got to say, I've been to Spain many times, been to Morocco a couple of times, been to Portugal before and along the Algarve. Never to Lisbon before, and then on to Lisbon. A lot to talk about having to do with the big sea cruise, and we'll get to a bunch of the Alhambra. What a place in Granada. That was something. Got a little bit of history going on over there. And here in the United States, the Democrats continue. The Democrat Party, I'm beginning to think that they're not on our side. What do you think, Michael? The Democrat Party on our side? I don't think they're on our side. I really don't. The United States of America, Western civilization, free speech. They hate free speech, don't they? And the free practice of religion. There were all kinds of big things happened while I was gone with my best girl on the sea cruise, and the Supreme Court has been very busy offending Democrats who hate the Bill of Rights and the United States of America. They despise religious liberties, and they oppose them, and they will impose upon you their beliefs. And if you don't want to bow to them, then, the paddlings will continue because they're out of their stinking minds. They don't believe in the First Amendment, really any element of the First Amendment. And there's a big story. So the Supreme Court, a lot of good stuff. We'll get into some of that. I know some of it is yesterday's potatoes, but not really, because the left is still going bat guano crazy, which is not redundant. Look it up. So we got that going for us. And the front page of the Washington Post today, their lead story, Judge restricts U.S. tech contacts, limits pressure to remove posts. See, the left, they're fascists. Adolf Hitler and his Socialist Workers' Party, perhaps you've heard of it. They caused quite a ruckus in the middle of the 20th century, took up a few years of my father's life. As a matter of fact, go over there and kill Nazis, because that's what you do with Nazis. And then the Soviet Union and their boy Joseph Stalin, right? And they love really the whole package, don't they? Any form of authoritarianism. And they crush free speech. And now the Democrat Party is here. They're not liberals. They're the left. And they're here to trample your rights. I've been saying this for years, haven't I, Michael? The left is coming for your rights. The left is coming for your rights. And the Democrat Party is not liberal. The Democrat Party is left. They're the left. They're part of the international left, which has been seeking for a century to crush the United States of America and capitalism. And, of course, free speech and free practice of religion. They really hate religion. You know that dog is their co-pilot. That's their thing. Dog is their co-pilot. But here it is. The judge, and they're really angry. It's a Trump-appointed judge. Headline after headline says, and because if it were a Democrat, they would trample your free speech rights and they really despise the Supreme Court. They're a threat to the Supreme Court. And there's another story today. Biden faces renewed, also front page above the fold, Washington Post. Biden faces renewed pressure on high court. That's the Supreme Court, because there are rulings that they despise that have to, it's great stuff. What was I think the headline that might have been the most fun was the Babylon Bee, when the Supreme Court ruled that Harvard can't discriminate against Asians anymore just because so many Asians get really good grades and test scores. And so Democrats want to discriminate against them so they can continue to raise morons and send them to Harvard. You know that Hunter Biden went to Yale Law School. And then, speaking of which, you heard about the cocaine they found in the White House, since Hunter Biden's name came up, naturally. So they found cocaine in the White House, and the news media is completely befuddled. There's even a headline saying, what is it saying? Donald Trump Jr. left it there years ago. It was like sitting in plain sight in the White House library. And Hunter Biden was in the White House on Friday. And then there's cocaine found, but not before they evacuated the White House, because a suspicious white powder was found. It was like a little tiny thing with coke in it. So they evacuated the White House. And then they said, never mind, somebody call Hunter. That's not really what happened, but it'd be more fun that way. So Biden faces renewed pressure on high court. White House has so far resisted calls to increase justices, that is, pack the Supreme Court, because they're filthy corrupt. They're so third world, banana republic, Eastern European, Soviet bloc corrupt, that when they lose the control of the court, they're like, we'll just pack it with a bunch of radical leftists that hate the Constitution. More of them. They already got 3 of them in there. And one of them doesn't even know what a woman is. And she's a woman. I know what a woman is. She's a woman, but she doesn't know what a woman is. And there's Ivy League, Supreme Court Democrats. There's something wrong with their brains, don't you think? So that's front page above the fold. Pack the court, Joe Biden. Pack the court. And then across from that, their lead story, judge restricts U.S. tech contacts. That's because we found out that the Democrats are trampling free speech, but only free speech of people that don't sing from the Democrat Party's sheet music. See, that's the thing. Like the Hunter Biden laptop. You can't talk about that. So they got the FBI on the job to call Twitter and Facebook to kill the story, because that's what fascists do, right? They trample free speech, but only free speech with which they disagree. They support your free speech rights as long as you agree with them and sing from their sheet music. If you deviate from their sheet music, then they will immediately use the power of the state to trample your free speech rights, because that's your Democrat Party. So we've got that to get into today. And pretty funny stuff, good headline here from Mediaite, a radical left-wing, hate-filled death cult website but their rights are never trampled, are they, Michael? No, they're not by the state. Their headline is, conservatives link Hunter Biden to White House cocaine bust. First of all, it's not a bust. They found, you're so stupid. You use the words, but you don't know what they mean. So it's not a bust. A bust is when you arrest someone with cocaine. What happened here is cocaine was found in the White House. Hunter has not been busted yet, but they should fingerprint the packaging of the cocaine just to confirm that it was actually Hunter Biden's. since he was in the White House mere hours before the cocaine was found. Everyone is making the very same Hunter Biden joke following White House cocaine discovery. Another headline from Ken Meyer, radical leftist, America-hating typist for the Democrat Party at Mediaite. Hunter Biden and his history with drugs quickly came to mind among news watchers after cocaine was reportedly discovered in the White House. They evacuated the White House because they found a suspicious white powder. Then it turned out it was just, Hunter walked by and something fell out of his pocket or something like that. So, Secret Service spokesman told the Washington Post, Democrat Party rag, that the executive mansion was evacuated over the weekend when a white substance was found inside. Was it like a duffel bag? Was it 100 pounds? No, not really. The discovery prompted a preliminary field test by emergency teams. The emergency team used the tip of their right pinky to dab a little, and they rubbed it on their gums and said, yeah, that's coke. That was the field test. And the discovery prompted a preliminary field test by emergency teams who arrived to address the situation. And while the substance has been sent out for further testing, the first evaluation came up positive for cocaine. Cocaine. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. And coincidentally, Hunter Biden had been in the White House just hours before. And I'm sure there's no connection between the point A and point B. Couldn't possibly be. So pretty funny. R.E. Fleischer, a Republican former White House spokesman himself, said, "You've got to be kidding me. Cocaine was found in the White House, and authorities aren't saying exactly where it was found. Turned out it was in the library. If it's the old executive office building, it's likely staff. If it's the mansion, meaning the White House, it's likely Hunter." See, that's what R.E. Fleischer tweeted out, which is pretty funny. And because it's what everybody was thinking, what everybody knows, and he was in there hours earlier. But we'll get to that because that's funny. And then the New York Times federal judge limits Biden officials' contacts with social media sites. That's because they are Orwellian, Stalinists, anti-American, un-American, tramplers of the free speech rights of anyone that isn't a Democrat member of the choir. You got to sing from the choir otherwise. So that's the New York Times. They're very upset. And and the headline from the Gateway Pundit, Trump-appointed judge accuses Biden regime of violating First Amendment in blistering opinion. Quote, Orwellian, censorship of conservatives. And that's what it is and what we've been watching for years. If you've been paying attention, you're listening to my humble radio broadcast, so I know that you've been paying attention. And judge issues decision on protected speech. Democrats don't want to protect speech. And then also the Democrats have been shooting a whole lot of people since I left. I went to Europe and stuff. I've got stories to tell about Portugal. Americans are fleeing in record numbers to Portugal and buying up the real estate there. And we were talking to a Portuguese man who was telling us that the huge influx of Americans moving to Portugal, and they speak Portuguese there. They don't even speak Espanol. They speak Portuguese. It's a lot harder than Spanish. And a Portuguese man telling us that he says the Americans are fleeing to Portugal because they don't feel safe in the United States anymore. And kind of interesting. And the Algarve, the south of Portugal on the Atlantic Ocean, we were told by a different person that 40% of new home sales on the south of Portugal and the Algarve to Americans. 40% of home sales going to Americans fleeing the United States of America. Ben & Jerry's radical left-wing centimillionaires. They hate America. And they attacked America for the 4th of July, which was yesterday. Normal people did not, because we understand that the left is the biggest threat to humanity and has been for a century. And then there is a Democrat Congressman, Jamal Bowman. He's a radical. He hates America. Wait till you hear what he said about the 4th of July on the 4th of July. Amazing stuff. We've got LGBTQ updates. I want to go through that. Aren't L's also G? And when you boil it right down, aren't B also G? And really, if you're Q, aren't you really also G? And aren't the L, G, B and Q kind of ganging up on the T's because they don't want to be any part of them. I think I need to update you on that. And the teachers union, that's the Biden administration. They want your kids to be reading homosexual, gay, child porn over the summer break because it's all about indoctrination. Amazing stuff. Also, how do we fight global warming? Got that coming up. California reparations and other crazy Democrat stuff. We're at 888-630-9625. Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. Cocaine. I get no kick from cocaine. So I often break into Cleavon Little, as written by Mel Brooks in Blazing Saddles, sometimes for no reason at all. Yes, cocaine. The White House evacuated and cocaine found. And it turns out there are some, thanks to the Democrats, some fairly humorous elements to all this. Now, let's go to the telephones. We remain at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Victor calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. Victor, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris. I heard the tape over the phone during your break. And it's clear that the cocaine was found in the library, and they're spinning it, saying that it was in a hall closet or something like that. And my theory is the reason why they've done that is, well, there's certain restrictions about going into the library, but, well, a lot of people can go into the hall closet for cleaning supplies, stuff like that, so we can increase the suspects more than we could if we left it in the library.
You think the media is, and the White House is spinning this to try to muddy the waters, to distract from the presence of Hunter Biden in the White House just the other day?
Absolutely.
And you suspect that maybe Hunter Biden is still doing cocaine even when he was in the White House the other day?
Yes. And apparently he did not learn his lesson when he got slapped on the wrist. I hope they go after him big time now. But they're going to cover this up big time.
Well, it's just cocaine. They just evacuated the White House. I think it may be the first time they evacuated the White House. Biden wasn't there. But I remember when they evacuated the first family because the left was rioting and plundering and outside the White House, and they set St. John's Church on fire. We have the audio, and we're going to play it for you, of cocaine found in the library. Cocaine and Hunter Biden coming up. Well, the great classic song, I Get a Kick Out of You, well, it's recorded by all kinds of jazz and jazz greats and greats of the standards, you know. It was written by Cole Porter. Cole Porter wrote the song. 1934. He was doing a musical called Anything Goes. You know, you might know that song too, Anything Goes. And Frank Sinatra recorded the song with the cocaine line in it, and the original lyrics, because cocaine was in vogue and had not even been outlawed and was an ingredient in Coca-Cola very early on. And the Cole Porter rendition actually did have the line about cocaine. And then it kind of went away. They stopped doing that in the I guess probably the late 70s and later in 1970s, because cocaine became an issue. But, you know, some get a kick from cocaine. I'm sure that if I took even one sniff, that it would bore me terrifically too. Those were the original lyrics. But I get a kick out of you, cocaine, and not so much. But you're kind of cool, so I like that. And of course, Mel Brooks used it with the late great Cleavon Little in one of the greatest movies of all time, Blazing Saddles, where Cleavon Little put it like this.
Some get a kick from cocaine. Hold it, what the hell is that?
We had to cut it off. There was some language in there, so we had to stop it. We had to stop it there. But wonderful stuff. And now we got the cocaine found at the White House, and had to get to that. It was Louis Armstrong recorded a version with and Frank Sinatra and all kinds of people, jazz standards, and Hunter Biden, I think, likes that song. He hums along. It's a real toe tapper. He likes that, and we have the since Victor brought it up, we talked about the tape, the audio. There is audio now, and who got a hold of this? Was it the Washington Post and the New York Times? Was it CNN that got a hold of the audio tape? No, naturally not, because they are, I almost used a bad word. They're bootlicks for the Democrat Party. So the Daily Mail got it. The Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom, which is not even the United States of America. The highest office is their headline. The highest office, see, it's a reference to drug thing. They're getting high. White House guessing game begins after cocaine found in library. Forced hazmat evacuation. That's kind of funny, isn't it? 2 days after recovering drug addict Hunter Biden was on the property. And again, everybody's doing the joke. It's like the game Clue. It's a board game called Clue. Hunter Biden in the library with a straw, because he likes his straws. He paints. He makes $500,000 paintings with his straws. And of course, he snorts a lot of cocaine, because that's guys. President Joe Biden, his son Hunter, and members of the first family arrived back at the White House, mired in controversy on Tuesday after cocaine found by Secret Service agents sparked an evacuation and hazmat situation. See, because it was at first only a suspicious white powder. Now, again, if only Hunter had been there, they could have resolved the situation quite quickly, because there was not a large quantity. He could have just snorted up the evidence in no time at all, and then it'll all be okay. Then he'd go upstairs. So a dispatch call reviewed by Daily Mail and the journalist there reveals a preliminary test found that the white powder discovered on Sunday tested positive for cocaine and led to emergency services shutting down 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's the White House. Secret Service has now launched an investigation to track down how the substance got there. We should have the results of that investigation in 4 or 5 years. Just stand by for that. Then a 2-paragraph statement will be put out on Friday afternoon on a holiday weekend, and nobody will believe it, because that's where we are as we become a third world country. The discovery came 2 days after recovering drug addict Hunter Biden, 52, I thought he was 53, was last seen at the White House as he headed to Camp David. Now they should probably send the dog, the drug-sniffing dog through the buildings at Camp David to Camp David with his father for a long holiday weekend, because really Joe Biden is overworked. He works most days apparently 10 a.m. till about 3 p.m. And when we say he works, that just means he's watching an episode of Hazel. That's about it. Then he sits in his high chair, eats some porridge with a spoon. Not a bright man. Trolls are speculating that the president's addict son is the source of the illegal substance. However, the White House library is part of the public tour experience. This is what always happens. People visit Washington. They say, hey, we're going to the White House. Why don't I bring my cocaine with me? And because we go through the tightest security we've ever gone through. And then when they get into the White House library as part of the tour, they say, oh, wait a minute, I've got my cocaine. It's very expensive. Maybe I should leave it here. Right? Because that's what happens. That's all right. That's not what happens. And really, is it part of the? Do you go in? I think you just walk by on the public tour of the library. I don't think you go in and leaf through books or anything like that. While the dispatch recording clearly says library, right? The word library. A source familiar with the incident told the Daily Mail that the substance was not found inside the executive mansion, but was discovered at a work area and in the west wing of the White House. So they're muddying the waters. They're spreading disinformation and misinformation because they love the lie. And, in order to love the lie, you have to hate the truth. Hate the truth, love the lie. That's the Democrat Party today. Yes, sir. Here, we love the truth. We're all about the truth. But we do have the audio recording thanks to the Daily Mail and not the Washington Post, which is based in Washington and is supposed to cover the White House, but instead they cover up. That's what they do. They actually tried the slogan. We don't cover the news, we uncover it. Then somebody pointed out that was moronic, so they stopped using it. But here is the audio obtained by a newspaper from another country and not one of our failed, fraudulent Democrat Party front groups pretending to be a news organization. The audio.
To repeat, I didn't copy your results on the Gemini.
Gemini's results are no match found with a red bar, no match found in the library. We'll go ahead and back. Come on up. Correction record has that we have a result on the Gemini. We have a yellow bar stating cocaine, hydrochloride, gas number 53-21-4.
We got cocaine. This is D.C., all right? And in D.C., the emergency responders know a thing or two about cocaine. Our mayor for life, Marion Barry, who then went off to prison, then was released that was for smoking crack cocaine that was provided to him by the FBI, by the way. And the GDB did set him up, Rashida Moore. I remember Rashida Moore. And Marion Barry, I met Marion Barry a couple of times. I have great pictures of myself with Marion Barry in a bar. We were not smoking crack like Hunter Biden was with Marion Barry, because he bragged about smoking crack in Georgetown with Marion Barry back when he was in college. That was even before he was kicked out of the Navy and all that. So it turns out the D.C. Fire Department was called to evaluate and quickly determine the item to be non-hazardous, depending on the meaning of the term non-hazardous. The item was sent for further evaluation. Now, that was the D.C. Fire Department hazmat team that responded. And they got there and what are you people, a bunch of numbskulls? This is coke. This is cocaine. Silly people. And that's the audio recording. So there it is. He's got cocaine, hydrochloride, and library. And now the White House says, oh, no, it wasn't the library. Oh, no, and everybody goes in the library. Every tour group goes in the library, and they leaf through books, and they sit there, and they read Genderqueer. You think they have Genderqueer in the White House library? A graphic man-on-boy sexual novel that the National Education Association is recommending for your little children this summer because there are graphic depictions of man-on-boy sex and boy-on-man sex, because that's the Democrat Party. They are the party of pedophiles, but don't call them pedophiles. That's minor attracted person. Right? MAPS. They call them MAPS. Don't be critical of someone just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old. That's a Democrat Party bumper sticker now. That is Democrat Party bumper sticker. Yeah. I was reminded that at the Chris Plant store, we have Remember Normal gear. Remember Normal. We're getting farther and farther away from normal, aren't we? And the left is coming for your rights. The left is coming. That's one of my sayings as well. A lot of my sayings have caught on over time, haven't they? Were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. That one's caught on probably better than most. And we have that at the Chris Plant store, T-shirts and coffee mugs for your liberal friends, for your conservative friends, for yourself, for your cabinets, for your T-shirt drawer. The left is coming for your rights. Boy, Boy, are they. And remember normal. Let's try to remember normal. Somebody's got to hold on to normal because we've entered kind of a new dark age in Western civilization because of the left. And all of history is being rewritten and erased. Women are being erased. Pedophilia is being normalized. And we've the Genome Project, which America once again led the way, University of California, the Genome Project, where we broke down the genes and double helixes and chromosomes and X chromosomes and XY chromosomes. The Democrats have erased all that. They really are like the Taliban, and they're dragging us into a new, it's a variation on the old dark age with the fall of the Roman Empire, but they're trying to drag down Western civilization, and they're erasing science and history like the Taliban and like really, they're like troglodytes. They honestly are. And they're erasing women. They're erasing all societal norms, gender norms. They're turning the greatest heroes of human liberty, the American founding fathers, into villains. Oh, speaking of which, we were in Seville, Spain. It's a city in Spain. Liberals say Sevilla. When I was a kid, our neighbors had a Cadillac Sevilla. Yeah, it's Seville, and we were there in Seville. Turns out they have a cathedral there. Have you ever been there? They have a cathedral. All the great cities, they have cathedrals, And it turns out the one in Seville, you tour Europe and you spend a lot of time in Europe, and it's like another city, another cathedral. But let me tell you, the cathedral in Seville is extraordinary. It's truly extraordinary. The pipe organ is like nothing you've ever seen. It's truly amazing. It's the size of a city block. It's incredible. And here's the thing there at the cathedral in Seville. They have Christopher Columbus. They have his remains, and they have a crypt. It's really a monument, and his remains being carried by 4 larger-than-life bronze kings carrying a sarcophagus, and in that sarcophagus in the cathedral in Seville, the remains of Christopher Columbus, the great Christopher Columbus, who discovered America, and that's what he did. He discovered it, right? And that's what I'm talking about. And we visited with Christopher Columbus in Seville at the cathedral there. Quite extraordinary, quite an extraordinary thing. The Western civilization began to blossom thanks to Christopher Columbus, who discovered America. But the left, they turned him into a terrorist. That show we get into the Native Americans skinning children alive and torturing them and breaking all their bones, and the human sacrifices by the thousands so that they could get better weather next year, which the Democrats are now doing as well. Honestly, extraordinary stuff. And Christopher Columbus discovered America. And it occurred to me while we were there that if Native Americans had hollowed out a log big enough to paddle across the Atlantic Ocean and had discovered Europe, then they would have discovered Europe, and that'd be the right word. That'd be the correct word. See, the left, they say Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. It was already there. Yeah, well, the moon was, they're just such dimwits. They're such numbskulls, such idiots. But if Native Americans had hollowed out a log big enough or made a birch bark canoe big enough to paddle with their hands across the Atlantic Ocean, and they had discovered Buckingham Palace and the city of London, maybe arrive at Rome, that'd have to paddle a lot farther. St. Peter's Basilica, the great libraries of Europe, the art, the museums, the technology, then they would have discovered Europe, right? But they didn't. And when the Europeans got here, Christopher Columbus discovering America and everything, did they discover libraries with great texts? Did they discover architecture and engineering? Or did they discover a pre-literate, effectively pre-metal society? I deliberately didn't use the word civilization. So, I saw Christopher Columbus. That was good. That was fun. And we'll get back to the Democrats in just a minute. We're at 888-630-9625. Okay. Let's go back to the phones. We have more to get to than I'm going to be able to get to in a mere 3 hours, but we'll see what we can do. Let's go to Jay calling from Baltimore, Maryland. Jay, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, Chris. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Glad to have you back. Thankfully, you didn't find the bottom of the ocean on your trip. I want to join you next time. It sounds like a total blast.
It is. It's great.
Remember that just a couple of months ago, you were a conspiracy theorist for thinking that the government was censoring American speech. That once again, today's conspiracy is tomorrow's conspiracy fact.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It is.
We went through, I got the pleasure to go down to the beach, Joe Biden's home state, down in Dewey Beach, Delaware, and go to Bethany and Fenwick Island, and so many people down there with American flag poles and bunting and happy people, and everybody's having a great time, fireworks. And then I drove through Northwest D.C. to Dulles Airport this morning, and what did I see? Right, a bunch of houses with beautiful manicured lawns, pride flags, and people wearing masks at bus stops. And one house had an American flag. One house.
Well, it's dangerous. I live in Washington, Northwest Washington, D.C., and there are Ukrainian flags, there are pride flags, there are trends. That means gay pride flags. And, an American flag is a pride flag, too. It's an American pride flag.
Yeah, we didn't see any of those. But at least here in D.C., I didn't see any Fauci flags. So I guess it's a start.
Well, the signs, the Fauci front yard signs were there for at least a year all over the place. And, 4th of July, honestly, in Washington, D.C., you put an American flag in front of your house, it may very well be torn down because it's about 97% Democrat in Northwest Washington, D.C. And the Democrats, we've got more on this coming up, actually, Jay. The Democrats are hostile to the United States and to the 4th of July. And if you're a Democrat, I'd like you to call in and explain to me why you're hostile to the freest country in the history of the world, to the people that have brought freedom to more human beings worldwide, have crushed more bad guys worldwide than any country in the history of the world. Explain to me why you're hostile to the United States and why your party, your Democrat Party, is hostile to the United States of America. America's a great and, generally speaking, very patriotic country. But the Democrat Party has a long-term plan to damage that. And the numbers are down, too. They're having an effect. Thank you, Jay.